It's a beautiful day in Lagos, Nigeria. It's just gone 1 minute past the hour of 5. Happy Independence Day, Nigerians, wherever you are listening to us from the diaspora within here in Lagos. Regardless of where you are, I'm sure you can feel the celebration somewhere within you, knowing that Nigeria is officially 61 years old since Independence Day. It's the recap today, and it's a Lagos Talk special. My name is Michelle Aga, and I'm being joined by two gentlemen who will be walking through this conversation with me as we talk about our beautiful and great nation, Nigeria. I have Emmanuel Odeyemi, who's hooked up with me on the phone lines. As we know, Emmanuel Odeyemi is a Lagos Talks reporter slash correspondent slash broadcast journalist. He does everything, and he's joining me today on the show. Hello, Emmanuel Odeyemi. How are you doing today?
Happy Independence Day to everybody listening to us from all over the world.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And we have a special guest who is joining us today on the show. And he's the star of the show because we'll be asking some questions and rubbing minds with Nigerians. And of course, hearing from him, he will be sharing some of his experiences with us. We have Professor Kingsley Moghalu joining us today. Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Today's session will be quite interactive. We're going to feel the pulse of the nation via the phone lines. I'm expecting the listeners to call into the show and, of course, ask some questions and just really create a close knit around our conversation about Nigeria. I'll let Emmanuel Odeyemi take the floor from here. Emmanuel, go ahead, please.
All right. So it's quite significant, and it has always been significant every year when we celebrate the anniversary of Nigeria's independence. But whether the story or the narrative is good or bad, it's quite subjective. And over the years, truth be told, Nigerians have felt, let me say, shortchanged in a way with the kind of leadership the country has had. Now, this is not me saying that we have bad leadership. That's the general consensus going by the body language of the average Nigerian, if I may say so. Recently, we had this interaction with Professor Kingsley Moghalu when he declared that he had intention of running for presidency come 2023. So we're going to be eating hard on some of the points we raised during that interview. So let's start by asking Professor, 61 years down the line, where are we?
Not in a very good place, I'm afraid. Nigeria does not have very much to celebrate at 61 years of age. We have a country right now where a lot of young people are hopeless. There are no jobs. Security has broken down. And, we have a lot of terrorism going on in the country in various places. We have, we are the poverty capital of the world. This was not the promise of Nigeria 61 years ago, when, by some estimates, Nigeria was projected to be able to catch up with Japan and possibly overtake Japan, into the future. This is not where we are at all. So we have to be realistic and very sober in our assessment. To say, for me personally, it is unhappy Independence Day. It's not happy Independence Day. It's unhappy Independence Day because Nigeria is just very far away from its promise. There's a lot of sectarian division on the basis of tribe, on the basis of religion. This is just a geographical location. It's not yet a nation. And, we should make it a nation. And I do believe that we still have the possibility to succeed as Nigeria, as a country and as a nation. So that's my initial reaction. I will tell you, something I said on Twitter this morning. You see, a country does not exist simply to exist. A country exists to thrive, to make the quality of life of its citizens better, to protect its citizens and to assure their welfare. That's the purpose of a state, of a country. And it's not really where we are today in Nigeria. So we cannot celebrate the fact that we have, quote unquote, survived. That's a very low level of ambition. It shows a lack of worldview. Nigeria should thrive. That's my own vision for Nigeria. And it is possible. Don't think that because of the problems we're having now, it is impossible. It's simply a matter of leadership. And when we get the right kind of leadership, you will see Nigeria's possibilities explode.
All right. So it's been 61 years, and I'm sure at some point down this road, we had it good. Maybe not the best or better, but we surely had it good at some point, maybe during the 70s, 80s, or the early 2000s since democracy. And you mentioned something which you highlighted as the problem, leadership. Do you really think that is all there is to our issues as a nation? Leadership, or are there other factors that
can I add to that question, please, Michelle?
Sure. Yeah.
Professor, I'm so sorry. Let me just quickly add to that, because I was about to ask a similar question. Now, in some quarters, it is widely believed that we have a leadership problem. But some other people feel that as much as we have a leadership problem, there's also a followership problem. Where do you want to draw the line? Are you someone who believes that we have both or one of each of these problems?
I believe we have both. But the reason we have the second one, which is both a leadership and followership problem, is because we have a leadership problem in the first place. Because the business of a leader is to take a people up from where they are and to take them to where he believes in his vision they ought to be. Right. So if you had a capable leader, he could take Nigeria beyond all this tribalism, beyond the injustice, beyond the poverty, beyond the all these secessionist agitations. All of these things are possible to address effectively if you have a good leader. But the reason we have a followership problem also is that it sometimes appears as if the citizens themselves are not, worried enough to do something about their conditions. They complain about it, but they don't do much about it. They complain about it, but when you look at the kinds of people they vote for in elections, then you begin to shake your head. So if you vote for the wrong kinds of people, why should you be surprised or frustrated that you have no water, no light, no good education system, no good healthcare? It's because of the kinds of people you're voting for. You're voting for politics and politicians. You're not voting for governance. And we should be voting for governance starting now and into the future.
Very interesting. Now, very interesting, I must say. With all what you have said so far, highlighting some of the issues from followership to leadership, being responsible for where we are today. Moving forward, the 2023 elections is around the corner. If this is a followership issue as well as a leadership issue, what are some of the most important things that we ought to know right now as followers? You've been there before, you've contested before, you felt the pulse of Nigerians, and you've seen what happens ahead of you, the leadership and everything. What are some of the things that we ought to start learning now to embrace and capture the right leaders come 2023?
Well, the first thing is that there is a difference between politics and governance. That's the first thing Nigerian citizens need to know. And sometimes we act as if we don't. We think that politics is everything. Politics is simply a path to governance, to good governance, because we're in a democracy, so to say.
Right.
So it's not a military dictatorship. So because it's a democracy, there has to be competition for votes, and legitimacy and so on. So if you understand that the politics is one thing, the governance is another, and then in the politics, you go for the kinds of candidates who can give you good governance so that you don't spend the next 4 years complaining, then as a citizen, you're doing the right thing. That's the first thing we must understand. The second thing we must understand is that as citizens as well and as followers, we have to make a sacrifice for the kind of Nigeria we want to see. That is to say, for the kind of leaders we want to have. We have a situation in which many people are poor. The politicians, many of whom have stolen public funds or have access to public funds, they use it to buy our votes. They use it to demonstrate their strength electorally. And we as citizens fall for it. Instead of voting for who we think should win, we vote for who we think will win. Again, once you do that, you're making a mistake and you will get bad governance out of it. So these are basic things that all followers and citizens should understand. Vote for who you think should win, not who you think will win. If enough people vote for who they think should win, that person can win. The third thing we should know is that at this stage of Nigeria's politics, the parties do not represent much. Very few parties have any real ideology or anything they truly believe in. So parties in Nigeria, political parties, are mainly special purpose vehicles to acquire political power, whether at the state level, at the local government level, or at the center, at the federal government. So we should be voting not on the basis of party, but on the basis of the candidate. If you look at the candidates and you identify the one that you think you like, the one that will do the job, then you find his or her party and vote for that party. Right. If you say it has to be APC, PDP, because you think that's a bandwagon effect, but it will not necessarily give you good governance. It will not put 3 square meals on your table after you finish voting for APC or PDP and you're still struggling to feed your family or to feed yourself, or you have no job. So what we are looking for as citizens becomes very important. What exactly do we want? That's the point. We should not allow ourselves to fall into the Stockholm syndrome where we fall in love with our kidnappers, our political kidnappers, and who have kidnapped our mental, framework, and the way we think supports people who are stealing public resources, who cannot secure your life, who are busy borrowing like there is no tomorrow, and the young people of this country will inherit all of that debt, So what kind of people are you really voting for? So these are some of the very basic things that we should.
Well said, Professor Moghalu. Emmanuel, it's quite interesting what he's talking about. And I think it's high time that Nigerians actually start knowing the difference. I think that's something I've learned from you, sir, knowing the difference between politics and governance. Sometimes we mix up the two. We don't know the difference. We just stick with the blurred lines and just jump on anyone that seems to be appealing or sensational. So what are some of the qualities that we ought to look out for when seeking for that leader for good governance? You've talked about the things we shouldn't look out for. What are some of the qualities we ought to look out for? We don't know these politicians well enough. We don't know these political parties well enough. We don't even know what their ideology is all about. We only see their characters, their antecedents, their past. We don't really know who they are on the inside and the leadership qualities that they do possess. How do we identify those leadership qualities so we can identify the true leaders who can take us to the better parts of good governance?
Well, the first thing you have to look at is character. You've got to look at character, because somebody, for example, could be very educated, but would not have a good character to be a good leader. And that will show when he or she has power. So character matters a lot. Does the person care about the people? Or does the person care about himself or herself? Why is the person seeking political office? Is it for the sake of the people, or is it for the sake of himself to have access to public funds and maintain a lavish lifestyle? So character matters, competence matters, capacity matters, credibility matters. And for you to be able to assess these things, look at the person's track record. Don't say, for example, if you're looking for somebody to vote for presidency, okay, he has been a governor, so he can be president. There is no automatic correlation between being a governor and being a good president. Many people make that mistake. They worship successful politics. But some of the people who are very successful politicians in Nigeria have very bad track records at governance. So if you understand, for example, that if you're voting for president, what is the function of the Nigerian president? There are 4 things you should be looking for. And who can do those things? Number 1 is nation building. Who can build a nation? Who can manage the diversity of Nigeria and build a united nation? Who can unify the country? Yeah, that's very important. So if you go and support an ethnic jingoist, somebody who has a track record of being an ethnic irredentist, simply because he has a lot of money or he has been a governor, big governor, and all of those things, you miss the point. But so that's number 1. Does the person have experience and a track record at nation building? Security is another one. Who has the ability to understand Nigeria's security problems and to solve it, has the political will to solve it. Now, this does not depend on whether or not the person has been in the military. This is the mistake we made in 2015, when we thought that because somebody was a general, he would automatically be able to deal with security. We have seen from experience that it doesn't work like that. So there are different dimensions of security. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that, because I, for example, have had a lot of experience in international security operations when I was in the United Nations. I have had a lot of experience when I was in nation building, when I was a United Nations official for 17 years, serving in Cambodia, in New York, in Croatia, in Rwanda, and in Switzerland.
Wow.
So I know these things. I've done these things, and I would, if I were given the opportunity to be president, I would bring that knowledge and experience to the table. But there are people who will say, but you have not been a state governor. Go and run for governor. Do you see the point?
Right.
So the third thing is the economy. You've got to look for somebody who can manage Nigeria's economy. The next president of Nigeria must be able to be versed in economics and to be able to direct the economy for productivity. But that requires knowledge. That requires experience. Again, I was deputy governor of the central bank, and I'm an economic thinker who has thought and written about these things, and I have done it practically as a central banker, making economic decisions at the top of the management of the Nigerian economy.
Right.
And then fourth, foreign affairs. You cannot go and elect a local man to be president of a country like Nigeria. It will not work, because Nigeria is a potentially important nation in the world. 200 million black people, the biggest country of the black race in the world. You cannot go and elect somebody who does not have an understanding of international relations and to be able to manage Nigeria's foreign policy effectively. So these are 4 things I'm giving you specifically, but how many people will remember these 4 things when they are looking for a president? Instead, they are looking at politics. They are looking at where the person comes from. They are looking at the money, how much money the candidate has, all of that. So another thing that people should be looking at is that citizens, if you have a candidate who does not have money, the citizens should support that candidate by contributing to support him, to fund his campaign. Because in developed countries, that's what happens. Exactly. People do not come to win elections because they have a lot of money. In a country like Germany, it is forbidden for you to be using resources that are not provided by the state for campaigns. So these are the kinds of things that, and that's done to protect the electoral process so that nobody can hijack it, So these are some of the things, that I thought,
Very, very interesting, Mr. Professor Moghalu, sorry. Emmanuel, I'm just literally blown away. He's hitting on the high points and things that we never really think about on a daily basis. Do you have something to say or a question?
In fact, yes, when Professor was answering the second question, it brought to my mind several other related questions, and I'm wondering, oh God, how much time do we have to push all these questions to him? But let's check 61 years down the line after independence, the nation has witnessed a steady decline in fortunes. And this has led to people to start saying Nigeria is a failed state. I remember asking you the same question, and for some people who are progressive and who are positive-minded, we keep saying we are not a failed state. Okay, if we're not a failed state, how close are we to being a failed state, looking at the current indices?
Nigeria is a failing state, no question about it. I don't think you can say we're far from being a failed state when the government does not have the monopoly of violence. A proper state, only the government should have a monopoly of weapons and violence, organized violence to protect the state or to defend the territory. But in Nigeria today, all sorts of non-state actors, whether it's Boko Haram, whether it's IPOB, all sorts of groups in Nigeria today have more influence than elected political leaders over the minds of the people.
Right.
And that tells that the people have lost faith in the political leadership class. So if a state is not able, there are 3 elements of state capacity, 3. And that's how you assess a state. 1, is the state able to protect its territory effectively? Nigeria is not able to protect its territory effectively, as we've seen with Boko Haram over the past 12 years. 2nd, is the state able to manage taxation efficiently? and effectively and raise the kinds of taxes and create a social contract with its citizens where the citizens are confident enough to pay their tax, knowing that the government will use these taxes for their healthcare, for their education, for their transport, and all of those things. Again, Nigeria is not there. We have about 17 million people who should be paying tax. Only about 10 million people do. And the few people that do are overtaxed. Third, is the state able to provide administrative services efficiently and effectively? Again, we are not able to do that. So on this state, these three very important measures of state capacity, Nigeria fails in each one of them. Then how can you say very honestly that you're not at the very least a failing state, if not a totally failed state? I think you're a totally failed state when you get to like where Somalia was in the 90s, and there is no government and all of that. We're still not there, but we're failing very, we're failing because the legitimacy of the government authorities is receding by the day. Look at what is happening in Anambra State and in the Southeast today. Same thing. So you find that the political leadership of the region has failed. No question about it. And that is why groups like IPOB and some other groups, seem to have the legitimacy over certain parts of the population. I want you to know very clearly that most people in the Southeast prefer to remain part of Nigeria. They do not want to secede. Let me be very clear, because some people, have that, wrong notion that the Southeast wants to secede. It is not true. But everybody in the Southeast and in many other regions of the country, like the Middle Belt, the Southwest, because it's not only in the Southeast, you have these secessionist agitations, Yoruba nation. They don't want to be part of Nigeria anymore because Nigeria is unfair and unjust to many of its citizens. Some people seem to want to dominate others and hold power permanently, and that power that they use, even their own people suffer. They don't benefit from that political power. So it's for themselves, really. It's for a political elite. Mm-hmm. So this is what I'm trying to say. When you ask about failed states and all of that, we're not in a good place.
Professor Moghalu, let's quickly discuss one of the major sticking points of this country in the past years, and that is the economy, the Nigerian economy. Yeah. It has been on a decline, and it's hit a world record or a national record since 1983. Nigeria is currently growing at basically a single digit. I want to say 1.8%, but that's still a single digit, even if it was 2%. The economy, the inflation rate, and everything about the Naira, it's consistently declining, literally by the day. And I want to believe that if we have the right policies, the right public policies in place, the right economic policies in place, or maybe even the political will to get the economy thriving, we won't be here. We'll take the PIA as an example. For over 20 years, the PIA or the PIB wasn't signed until just, I think, last month in August. And it's going to take a while for it to be implemented or for we to see the result of that. How do we talk about the politics of the economics of Nigeria? You're a CBN, well, you were a CBN, deputy CBN governor, and I'm sure you have an experience in that level. How do we get out of this recession that we've currently found ourselves in? What are the right policies that ought to be in place? How do we grow the political will to literally see Nigeria out of recession?
Well, thank you. The first thing I want to tell you about the management of the economy is that it depends very much on politics. There is no separation between the two. No country's economy can be better or worse than the competence or incompetence of its elected political leaders. Many people make the mistake of thinking that, technocrats can fix the economy. No, if you come up with the right ideas and your political bosses are servicing vested interests, which is what has guided Nigeria's economy for the past 40 years, those policies will never see the light of day. You gave an example of why the PIA has not been passed for 20 years. Why? It is because of vested interests. So in Nigeria, the state is very weak. Specific vested interests are powerful and dominant. And so public policy is not rational. Public policy is about patronage. Public policy is about vested interests, servicing vested interests. A country like that can never have a good economy. That's number one. Number two, for you to have a good economy, you have to have a leader who has economic vision. For example, I say, I'm running to be president, and I say that I want Nigeria to be like Malaysia and Dubai and Israel in the next 20 years. That's my vision. And I have the knowledge to know what to do if I am given the authority to do so. So that's number one. You need the vision, you need the knowledge. Then you need the political will, because you can have the vision, have the knowledge, but you're not a courageous person. When vested interests back or tell you to jump, you ask how high. Another thing you need to know is that we need independent institutions. If politicians control every institution, for example, the central bank, and a central bank, acts not independent of the presidency, but actually is taking instructions from the presidency, that is not central banking. When I was at the central bank, we did not take instructions from the president. I want to be very clear and let it be on record.
Right.
We briefed the president, Yaradua and Jonathan. We briefed them. They would ask questions. They're elected officials. They have the right to be briefed on some of our policies. So periodically, once every 3 months or so, we would meet with them and brief them about what we're doing and why we're doing it. But you don't have people from the State House. Let me tell you, when I was deputy governor of the central bank, a very high-ranking politician at the time called me and wanted me to do something. I was acting governor at the time. And I told him, no doing. It doesn't work. It can't happen. He said, well, Kingsley, you're always citing rules. We too here, we have our rules. And when you need us, I will remind you of those rules. You see? And so we had a good laugh. I said, brother, we just laughed it off. But it's just a way of saying the Nigerian politician has not seen an institution that he cannot or should not control for vested interests. But successful economies have independent and strong institutions. There's politics stops at the water's edge, or politicians don't tell a central bank what to do. Because what the central bank needs to do to manage the monetary policy is a technical thing. It's not politics. It doesn't respond to politics. If you want low interest rates, but there is a lot of inflation, you're destroying the country, because inflation is a massive regressive tax on citizens. But the central bank may need to raise the interest rate for a while to be able to bring the money supply under control, so that you don't have too much money chasing too few goods, which is the classic definition of inflation. So this is the reason why a central bank, for example, should be independent. The judiciary should be independent, because it is the last hope of the common man. If a judiciary responds to political authority, it is no longer justice, it is power play. So these are some of the things that I think, affect the economy. Then let me conclude by saying that the reason the Nigerian economy is weak and has been getting weaker is that Nigeria's economy is not productive. And that is why the Naira is constantly losing strength against convertible currencies like the dollar and the pound sterling and so on. Because we rely on one product for our revenues, and that is oil. So in the price, in the international oil market, we don't control the price. So when the price of oil sneezes, we don't just catch cold in Nigeria, we catch pneumonia, and sometimes we catch COVID. So this is the point. If you don't have a productive economy that manufactures value-added complex goods and exports them and earns forex from a diversified export base, your currency is at the mercy of all sorts of factors. So you have demand and supply as well. We're an import economy, so everybody's looking for dollars to import this or that. We're not an export economy. So you need to realign the economy to become an export economy rather than an import economy. And that requires trade policy. Needs a very, very serious look in this country. Not just Naira of the central bank. And it's not the central bank's place to do trade policy. They may be involved, but there are other authorities, So these are some of the reasons why the economy is bad. There's a lot of unemployment because there is no productivity going on in the economy. So how can people be employed? And then we are borrowing like the world is about to stop. It's terrible. Terrible. I just can't believe the way the Nigerian economy is being run. It is just the Titanic. It's just a matter of when it will sink terribly.
let's talk about FDIs, foreign direct investments. There are loads of business
Yeah.
owners within the country, and even those sitting on the sideline hoping to bring their investments or money to Nigeria. They're always constantly complaining about the lack of ease in running a business in Nigeria, owing to factors like unstable electricity, very bad road networks, dwindling the level of logistics, and interstate trade and everything that we can mention as some of the issues currently affecting the FDI. But what exactly about the government policies or public policies really affect investors and local business owners? People always complain about the unease, the bureaucracy, some of the issues that they face. I don't want to believe it's owing just mainly to power supply or bad roads or lack of proper infrastructures, but definitely public policy play a massive role in why people, investors, are currently fleeing the country.
The administration has launched ease of doing business, I think. I don't know how that works.
Well, you see, the problem with Nigeria is that we like ceremonies. We like ceremonies. Ease of doing business. We make big noise in the media. We're doing this, we're doing that. What the investors are looking for is the real cocoa. What actually happens if I want to bring my money into this country, or if I want to set up a business? And the problem is that there is too much government, and the government of Nigeria is killing the Nigerian economy because it is too involved in the economy and in the wrong way. So there are too many regulations, too many rules, too much authorizations that the government has to give. So there's no freedom. So investors like these things easy. They want to bring in their money to be able to take it out. They want to. So if you, for example, when I was in the central bank, we had a lot of foreign investment in Nigeria because foreign investors would look at the central bank and what we were doing, reforming the banking system, which I led the implementation of the reform of the banks and made sure that you did not lose your savings in some of the banks, and safeguarded your livelihood and the livelihoods of millions, So foreign investors would look at all of these things, the strength of the institutions, how they are operating, what their rules are. And if those rules are conducive, they will come, you see? So this is the thing. But also very important is the matter of the basics, location factors, skilled labor. An educated and skilled labor force is very important to attract foreign investment. If you want to set up an Embraer jet manufacturing plant in Nigeria today, do you think you have thousands of young men and women who have the skills to put an Embraer jet together? We don't. And that means that's because our educational system is not geared in that way. People just cram and pour, but they don't have the skill for practical economic production. You see? So we have to shift our economic system in a certain way to produce the type of manpower that can sustain investment. That's number one. Number two is infrastructure, which you mentioned, electricity, roads, and all of that. They matter too. So people think that foreign investment creates economic development or economic growth. No, foreign investment responds to economic growth and economic development. So if you have the basics, investors will come. So Nigerian politicians go around the world saying they're going to look for investors. I laugh. I said, somebody just wants to Japan temporarily, and he says he's looking for investors. So he goes to Japan, goes to Washington, and spends 2 weeks. And you come to the investment conference, 90% of the people there are Nigerians. And you're looking for foreign investment. It means you're not. It means more than half of the people there will be government officials who found an excuse to get extra code and travel. We're going to look for investors. If you set up the conditions properly in your country, the investors will come. They're looking for it. Capital has a very fine nose. They know where they'll make a profit. They know where they can create productivity. And it is for you as a government to say that investments must serve our purpose, not just the purpose of the investor. This is also another problem in Nigeria. How many of the investments are actually adding value to the economy? How many of them are creating jobs? So these are some of the issues around foreign investment.
Okay. Well said. Well said. I'm sure Emmanuel has got more questions before we open the phone lines. Emmanuel, go ahead.
Yes, Professor Moghalu, you have always been a proponent of social re-engineering. And I remember we had this conversation both on air and off air very briefly about what does it take do we even have the capacity to do social re-engineering? Because they tell back of the issue of the followership problem we spoke about earlier. And we've all agreed that there needs to be a dynamic change in the mindset of the average Nigerian. How do we go about? Do you have a projection? Do you have a focus? Do you have a strategy you want to adopt for this?
Yes, I do. And that strategy is based on two things. It's based, one, on the educational system, which is where the minds of citizens begin to be formed, starting from when they are children. So, for example, I have said that if I were president, I would ensure that the teaching of ethics is compulsory in primary and secondary schools. Children need to know the difference between right and wrong early. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine from Ibadan, he comes from Oyo State, was telling a story about their son when he was about 6 years old. And he would have these cars that he would be driving around the living room and all of that. You know how children are.
Right.
So he noticed that the child would drive up to a point and do his hand like this. And do his hand like this. He would drive up to a point and do his hand like this. So he called the boy. He said, "Why are you doing your hand like that?" He said, "Daddy, it's the police now. I have to give them something as I'm driving."
Oh, wow.
A child of 6 or 7 already knows that for you to move around, you have to have something for the police that may stop you at a checkpoint. It's terrible. So this is it. Education matters. I keep coming back to education. Education is the foundation of every society, whether it makes progress or whether it's retrogresses. The educational system is so vital, but in Nigeria, we're not attaching priority to it. So education is number one. Number two is public information and public communication. You see, a leader should be able to communicate to its citizens the way I am speaking to you now, and it is flowing, and you're getting me. If I were president of Nigeria with the power of the president, and I spoke to 200 million people the way I'm talking to you, on a periodic basis, encouraging them that this is our vision as a country. This is where we have to go to, and this is what we need to do to get there. And then I call stakeholders, as Nigeria has all the stakeholders. It's one of the most popular words in Nigeria, stakeholders. And you engage them. You engage the stakeholders, and you do what we call manufacturing consensus, manufacturing consent. To govern people, you have to manufacture their consent. And for them to agree with your agenda, you have to show them why that agenda works for them. Not just agenda will agenda, and you're just busy with your hidden agenda. No, and you have to be transparent. You've got to be transparent. So this is how you socially re-engineer Nigeria. You do that through the education system. You do that through public communication, the mobilization agencies. You encourage patriotism.
Right.
In America, young people believe from a very early age that America is a very special country. In UK, the same thing. The Queen of England. There are symbols in every country around which people unite, and you must create these same symbols for Nigeria. That's how you socially re-engineer Nigeria. But you have to have the capacity to do that. And it's beyond politics. It's not just about politics. Yeah.
Michelle, before we open up the phone lines, let me quickly chip in that celebrating 61 years of independence, what we've heard over the years from our leaders is always been that Nigeria is indivisible. Nigeria remains one. There's unity in diversity. We started hearing that all the way back from when we were in primary school. But today we hear calls from different quarters for secession. This one wants to go the separate ways and pathways with the nation. There's the agitation for Udua nation. There's the IPOB. In all of this, do you strongly believe that Nigeria should remain one? Is there a possibility that we can fare better as a nation, or you think there's a possibility that going in separate ways might prove better for us?
I believe that we can fare well as a nation. I believe so. What you need for that to happen is equity and justice. That's it. Treat A like you treat B. Don't treat B special and A like he or she doesn't matter. Once you do that, after some time, A will say, okay, my rights are not being respected in this arrangement. I have to go. It is human nature. Self-determination is actually is one of the human rights. And that's why people are agitated to go. But you manage it because the Constitution says that Nigeria is one country that is indivisible. So, but it's not enough to say that. You must practice it and make people want to remain in that indivisible country. You cannot be telling people it is one big, great, indivisible and indissoluble country, but you don't want to constitutionally restructure Nigeria when you can see that the country, the way it is working, is actually failing. You don't want to engage in that discussion. You want to reclaim grazing routes across the country. This is 19th century thinking, 20th century, in the 21st century. That is your preoccupation. When you should be encouraging people to ranch their cattle. There's no modern country in the world where you come and see cows on the street. It's only in Nigeria. And this does not bother some people because they say, quote unquote, it's our culture. Culture is a very important aspect of development. And that is why culture must adapt as times roll by.
Yes.
There are certain things. In the part of Nigeria I come from, there was a time when twins, if people had twins in Abakaliki in Ebonyi State, they would kill those twins because they believed it's a bad omen. But after some time, people saw that this was not, there was no basis for this. It's just some superstition. So it stopped. So you cannot say because this is what our people were doing 100 years ago, we must continue to do it. No. So so that's my comment on that.
Well said, Professor Moghalu. Would love to open up the phone line so we can have Nigerians who are currently either celebrating Nigeria today or just having a sober reflection about the country. I'll have them join the show to ask questions, to contribute, and also share how they feel about Nigeria at 61. The phone lines are open to you to call in and join the conversation. The phone lines are 0809-234-5913, 0809-191-3913, or 0809-222-0913. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Yeah, I'm the show.
Good evening to you.
It's been a while.
Welcome to the show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Uche.
Uche from Ikeja. Go ahead, please.
It's Emmanuel there. I greet him as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
now,
greet you, Uche.
I've listened to the prof, and I weep. As I'm talking to you now, I'm weeping. Nigeria will not move forward. You know why? We do not appreciate brains like this. Look at what man has elucidated. Look at the things that he has highlighted that can be done easily. Tell me, a man like that as the president, you already know that there is hope. He knows what he's doing. You already have a feeling that he has a strategy. He doesn't even need too many aides around him. But look at where we are today. I didn't even bother listening to your president's speech because I knew it was going to be gibberish. Mind that, sorry for my language, but I think it was going to be just, nothing. And it has turned out to be like that. And you know my problem. My problem is that I wait for this country. Look, in football, when a club is not doing well, what do? They sack the manager. Because they fear that manager may take them to relegation. In same societies, this man has been sacked long time ago. But what are we doing? Hoping and praying until 2023. Even if it takes us into relegation before that 2023, that's all we're doing. It's a shame. It is sad. I didn't listen to his speech because I knew he had nothing to offer, and I've been proven right. But look at what the prof has been saying. This is not the first time he's saying it. Clear economic strategies to get out of this mess. We wouldn't want to have a man like that for reasons you and I know. He comes from the wrong part of the country. Those who want to rule us, who have virtually nothing to offer. Look at where we are today. Let me allow other callers to call.
Okay. Thank you for calling all the way from Ikeja, Lagos, joining the conversation. We'll take more calls. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. We're fine, thank you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Deji. I'm calling from Lekki.
Deji, join the conversation.
Yeah, during the professor's speak, this is the first time I'm actually hearing him speak. But he made a point when he talked about addressing his citizens on plans of way forward. Madam, you're in Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. There is a way someone will talk to you, you will do their bidding.
Mm.
And there is another way they will talk to you. You don't want to know what they want to say. They should just keep quiet. And it now made me to remember what happened in the Capitol Hill last year between Donald Trump and the pro-Trump people. He spoke and his people off with him. But I think the ruling party do that. And make us say the truth, because at the end of the day, what is it to celebrate my independence today? In all sincerity, what are we independent about? You're not independent of insecurity? I'm a youth. I'm 33 years old. But I'm telling you, my mind is like a 65-year-old man's own, because I don't have peace of mind. I drive nowadays. I look left, right, and center while driving because of the fear of my life. I got a transaction to bring in some investors from Dubai. And the moment the guy heard I was Nigerian, he said, no, we can't do it. And this was something that we take from those states to the pinnacle of investment in terms of bitumen.
Deji, thank you for calling. We appreciate you. Very interesting thing that he just said. And I think this is going to help me lead with another question. Professor Moghalu, Nigerians are everywhere in diaspora, not just within, but also outside the country. So many Nigerians doing great things. There's no judgments. There's no debate about that. However, on the flip side, there's so many Nigerians out there who are actually ruffling the feathers and actually bringing the wrong attention to the country or its people. Do you have anything to say to those Nigerians who are either currently fleeing the country in other countries already, or those who are actually doing the wrong things and bringing really, really bad stain to the Nigerian flag? What do you have to say about those kind of people?
Well, the first thing I would say to the latter, who are staining our image, is to remember that they're ambassadors of our country and that their actions have consequences on not just themselves. They can pay for it by going to jail if you're caught in crooked activity or criminal activity. And many of them do end up in jails abroad. So you take the responsibility, and the Nigerian government will not protect you if you commit a crime in foreign lands or even in Nigeria. To the people who are leaving, all those who want to japa, we have to understand that self-survival is the first law of nature. If people feel that a country is not giving them what they aspire to, they will strive to live. I myself immigrated when I was younger, but I went to build up myself to come home to offer my country what I had learned abroad. And after my studies, I joined the United Nations and so on for 17 years. And then later I came back as deputy governor of the central bank. So, Nigerians do wonderfully well abroad, but at home they're suppressed. You need a government that can release the creative talent and the vibrant, productive talent of Nigerians. And that's what we need. But for you to be that kind of president, you have to be somebody who wants what the progress you've seen in other places, you want it for your country. But there are many politicians who don't have that mindset. All they want is to steal our money and then go abroad and enjoy themselves. They don't care about the people who are suffering in our country. And so I don't blame the young people who are leaving. I know this is controversial. Anybody who wants to japa can japa. It's not, if you can do it, do it. It is for your own survival. But if we rebuild our country, those of us who are still in Nigeria can work and those people will return.
Let's go back to the phone lines, Prof. Lagos Talks. All right, keep the calls coming. You can also send a message on WhatsApp. It's 0809-234-5913. Call the landline numbers 01-515-0913, 01-515-1913. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Good evening, Michelle.
Good
evening. You have it on the line.
All right,
good evening, Prof.
Go ahead.
Honestly, it's disheartening that we this tone we are using to talk on what is happening in the land. At the end of the day, people in the hem of our face, what is done. They will keep giving us stories that will seem as if we are not thinkers. We are like just people that just rant and end it there. So, what practical way do we begin to bombard these guys in the hem of our face, the legislatures, the lawmakers, because the president, I don't know, if he's surrounded by this House of Assembly, the rep, and all these days we've been talking against the evil policies that is being put on the land, business environment is not there. And nothing is being done. So how do we, to tell this narrative so that this country can get better? Me, another Japan, I be here. So, yes, the 2023, my activity is here. I will vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. He made mention of the independence of the legislative arm of government, the fact that he thinks that with this administration has been a lot of rubber stamp policies. People are not thinkers. Those who are paid millions of naira are not thinking enough, are not criticizing the policies, are not making the right policies, are literally just on a bandwagon and dancing to the tune of the executive arm of government. I want to read more messages. Here is, what is your name? Okay, but you're sending a message saying, good evening, Michelle, Adeyemi, and Mr. Moghalu. I do not regret voting for Mr. Moghalu in the last election, and I will still vote for him, knowing that that is if you come in the next election. We need young minds that can think of this great country that will be great again, not all these old cargoes and old memories. God bless Nigeria. That came from Kenny from Surulere. He sends another message saying, how I wish reasonable Nigerians can listen to Professor Moghalu. This is the kind of person that we need to lead us out of this darkness that we're currently living. God bless you, sir. There's a message from Daniel from VI who's sending a message that is irrelevant to the show, sorry. Good evening, Michelle. My name is Oche from VI. I must do all that I can to make myself and many other Nigerians bring Professor Moghalu to power. All right, thank you. Back to the phone lines. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Good evening.
Very good evening to you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Henry from Obalende.
Henry from Obalende, 30 seconds, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, please let me begin by saying to the professor, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Now, please, I worry sincerely. Here is a man who, from all indications, has a blueprint for leadership. Listening to him has given me hope that this country can still be saved. And what it takes to save this country is not rocket science. But I worry. He does not belong to the political establishment.
Hello? Oh, sorry, we lost that call. Henry from Obalende, do call us back. Lagos Talks, good evening. Good evening. Join the conversation, Usman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lagos Talks, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Ben from Lekki.
Ben, have your say.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Prof, I greet you in the studio.
Thank
How
you.
are you, sir?
I'm very well.
Oh, thank you so much, Prof. Prof, please, I may go in a different direction from the callers. I like you. I am interested. You are in position of authority in the country. But the system let me say we play in Nigeria may not allow you to be there. So my advice to you, sir, I want you to join the mainstream Nigerian politics because the system already for two political parties. Our heads are going to deceive ourselves. Please join the big political party so that you can prove your work to the whole world to see. Please, I beg of you in the name of God. Please, either APC or PDP, join one. That is where you can get to that place you want to be. Thank you so much, Prof.
Oh, dear. Prof, can Prof respond to that, please?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Do you want to join the APC or PDP?
Well, that's a very interesting comment. And I think it also exposes the dilemma because, my dear brother, from all you have spoken, you have surrendered your agency as a human being. You don't believe you are powerful. You don't believe that you have the power to bring about the kind of leaders that you want. If you do, and millions of young people, it's young people we're talking to now, not the old cargoes whose minds are already set in a certain way. But the young people, millions of you, and you have the majority. If you register and go and vote, if 40 million people come out and say Moghalu will be president, no Jupiter will stop it. No political establishment will stop it. Look at what happened in Zambia recently. It was the young people. They had enough of the old system. They voted a guy supported by the youth. Hakainde Hichilema, HH, double H, who is a friend of mine. So we should not make ourselves weak when we are in fact powerful. Who is they? They will not let you. They will not let you. They. But it is you, the voter. If you make up your mind that this is the person you want, but they will tell you, oh, because if it's not in APC or PDP, it's a wasted vote. No. The wasted vote is the vote we have been casting for them for 22 years. That is the wasted vote because we have no water, 4,000 megawatts of electricity for 200 million people. Can you imagine that? We are the poverty capital of the world. We have one of the highest rates of unemployment in the world. We have a lot of terrorism, about 13 to 15 million children out of school. That, any vote that this is the result, it gets you, is a wasted vote. That's the point. When will Nigerians wake up and take their country back for themselves instead of surrendering?
Today,
joining the surrender brigade in their minds. Oh, there's nothing we can do about these politicians. They own the place. You know, it's not what will help us because those people can never change. Now, you asked me to join APC and PDP. I don't rule out anything. Okay. I don't rule out anything. I'm open. I'm thinking about the party to join, but it may also not be APC and PDP. It may be a party that is trying to bring together a third force, or a third way politics to challenge the status quo. And if the citizens back us, we can make it happen. So it is first of all, you know, resign from the surrender brigade. Resign from the surrender brigade. Because if I wanted to be in the surrender brigade, I'll be in APC, PDP. If I want to go into APC or PDP, do you really think that they will give somebody like me the ticket? You think that is why?
I doubt it very much.
So what is the point? Is it just so that I'll go and take care of myself? If I want to take care of myself today, I'll join APC and PDP. I'll start enjoying. I'll start enjoying and stop suffering. I sacrifice a lot because of the position I've taken in favor of the people rather than with the political elite. But the people can also come behind me and empower me and give me victory. It's very possible. Their choice. So that's my answer to the question.
Very interesting answer, Professor Moghalu. There are more questions here, and of course, the phone line's still buzzing with people trying to do the same.
I have to go because I have an appointment at 1 o'clock. Sorry, because I'm not in the country right now.
Right.
But so maybe I'll take one more
Michelle,
question.
Michelle, can we do something?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Can we ask Professor Moghalu on the occasion of Nigeria's 61 years independence to send a 30-second message to President Muhammadu Buhari? Can you do that for us?
Right now?
Maybe after this last call. Let's
okay.
One more call.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Lagos
right.
Talks. Hello, Lagos Talks. Good evening. Hello. Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
IK, calling from good.
IK, go ahead.
Yeah, you see the problem we have in this country, eh? These people that are ruining us, they are not educated. These people that are ruining us are not educated. That is the problem of this country. You see the way they mobilize the soldiers and the police. See, if this man wants to follow, if the youth even doesn't even know they are right. See, everything is just going off right now. See, if the youth want to come up now, he has no youth. A little money you give the youth, he has all his mind. Of hunger. They subject us with hunger, and that is why the problem is. The youth don't know even they are right. The moment they give them, they turn away from going the right way. That's the problem.
Right.
You see? So people like this, we need people like this to be in government, not people that are not dedicated to rule us. Look at intellectual people in this country, and look at the way Nigeria is suffering. I'm very sorry about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining the conversation. Surely there's a difference between going to school and actually being educated. It gives you the right to ask the right questions. It gives you some level of exposure. You learn, you implement, you change, you challenge the status quo. That is the evidence, the primary evidence of being educated. And you've literally demonstrated that with everything that you shared with us today. Emmanuel Adeyemi wants you to send a message to the president, but I also want you to send a message, maybe in 30 seconds, to Nigerians. Something that you can pour into their spirits with Nigeria being 61 today.
Yes, let me first of all send a message to Nigerians because I am on their side, and it is for them that I am doing what I am doing. Fellow Nigerians, on our 61st independence anniversary, we do not have too much to celebrate, but we should not give up hope. On the other hand, hope also is not a strategy. It is in your hands. It is in our hands to save our country, to unify our country, to create a new type of economy, and to give our youth jobs, and to create a good educational and healthcare system. But that cannot happen if you do not exercise your right to vote in a democracy. If you do not have a voter's card, if you do not vote, you cannot elect the right kinds of people who can give you your dreams, working together with you. So I urge you, fellow Nigerian, to wake up. It's about you. It's about your future. It's about the future of our children. We cannot stop. If you're walking to somewhere and you fall down, you don't say because you fell down, I will no longer go to where I'm going. You get up.
Hello, Mr. Moghalu, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So as we head towards 2023, it's going to be make or break for our country. Let this be our opportunity to redeem our future and to redeem ourselves. I wish you all the very best in your life and in the years to come. I greet you, your family, and I wish you God's blessings always.
Thank you, Professor Moghalu. We appreciate you. You have a word for the president? Any word whatsoever? Hello, Professor Moghalu. Are you there? I think well.
It's still there.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes. Do you have any word for the president?
Yes. Let me send a message to the president.
Go ahead.
Your Excellency, your Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari. I greet you on the 61st anniversary of Nigeria's independence with every respect. I want to plead with you to think about your legacy as your 8 years in power comes to a close. And there's one or two things you can do for us as Nigerian citizens. The first is to assure and ensure that we have the ability to vote and that our votes will be counted. Tell the members of the APC in the Senate who are against electronic transfer of votes to step down. Speak to them, urge them to vote for transparency in our elections so that our democracy can be worth its name. We can take care of the rest. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very interesting. Thank you, Professor Moghalu, for joining the conversation. We do appreciate you for taking the time out to spend with us and also celebrate Nigeria at 61. Professor Moghalu, have a
thank you
wherever you are.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Absolutely.
We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.